It all started last weekend when I decided to go hiking alone in the Black Pine Forest. I needed to clear my head, no phone, no noise, no people, just silence. I parked my car at the edge of the woods, took a deep breath of the cold morning air, and stepped into the trees. The sun was just rising, casting long shadows between the trunks. I had done this trail before, but something felt different this time. The air was heavier. Still, I kept walking. Headphones in, music on low. Just me and the trail. An hour in, I noticed something odd. The same red cloth on the ground. Once, then again, 20 minutes later. Torn, frayed edges and wet. It looked like a piece of a robe or veil. I thought it was trash. But then I saw footprints. Bare, human footprints in the damp soil, and they weren't mine. I stopped, took out my headphones. Dead silence. No birds, no wind, nothing. And then I heard breathing. Not mine. Behind me. I turned. Nothing. I convinced myself I was paranoid. Forests are full of weird noises. My brain was just playing tricks. Still, I picked up the pace, retracing my steps back toward the car. That's when I noticed the trees shifting. Not physically, but their spacing. Like the path I had walked earlier was suddenly different, and the fog was creeping in, unnaturally fast. And that red cloth, now hanging from a low branch ahead of me. When I touched it, it was warm, almost pulsing. That's when I started to hear it, the whispering. From behind the trees, I ran, but the forest wouldn't let me out. Every direction I turned led me back to that same spot. Same trees, same fog, same whispering. And then, it appeared, standing at the edge of the fog, draped in that same red veil, hands pressed against the fabric like it was suffocating behind it. Its head tilted slowly, following my every step. No eyes, no feet, no mouth. Just a slow, unnatural drift as it started moving toward me. I decided to stay quiet, barely breathing, hoping whatever was outside would go away. But it didn't. The sound of slow, dragging footsteps started circling the cabin. I heard dry leaves crunching under something heavy. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded deliberate, careful. Suddenly, the knocking stopped. And that silence, that unbearable silence, lasted for almost a full minute. Then, 3 short knocks on the window behind me. I spun around, heart in my throat, but nothing was there. Only the darkness of the woods. I tried to steady my hands, grabbed my phone, and turned on the flashlight. But the battery died the moment the light flickered on. And then, from outside the window, a whisper. Not a voice I recognized. Not even human. It said, "You saw me. Now I'm yours." I backed away from the window, my pulse hammering in my ears. That voice, it felt like it was inside my skull, not outside the cabin. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. I could see my breath fog in the air. My skin prickled with a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. Then, the lights went out. Not just the cabin's lights, I mean everything. No moonlight, no stars, total blackout. And then, from the center of that blackness, 2 faint red glows appeared. Eyes, watching me. I tried to move, to scream, but my body refused to obey. My legs were rooted to the floor and my jaw locked tight. The thing began to step forward, slow, fluid, unnatural. Each time it moved, the room seemed to stretch and groan like reality itself was being pulled out of shape. I finally tore my gaze away and lunged for the door, but it was gone. There was no door, just endless dark wood. The cabin had changed. It was no longer a room, it was a trap. He spun around, heart thundering in his chest. The basement was empty, or so it seemed. A soft creak echoed from the far corner, followed by a slow dragging sound. Ethan backed away, his flashlight flickering violently now. Suddenly, something stepped into the faint cone of light. It wasn't human. Its limbs were long and contorted, as if it had been broken and reassembled wrong. Its face, or what was left of it, had no eyes, just 2 hollow, dark pits. And in its hand, it held another photo. A new one. It was Ethan, standing in the basement, with the thing right behind him. The picture was taken just seconds ago. Ethan dropped the flashlight. Total darkness. He fumbled for his phone, shaking hands trying to turn on the screen, but it wouldn't light up. A whisper curled through the air, just inches from his ear. "You shouldn't have looked," he screamed, running blindly toward the stairs. Each step seemed farther than the last, like the basement was stretching. He tripped. hit the floor. As he pushed himself up, he saw something scrawled across the wall in red. It followed me. Ethan's breath hitched as he crawled toward the stairs. The words on the wall seemed to glow in the dark, pulsating like veins. It followed me. It followed me. Over and over again. Behind him, the basement groaned. It wasn't just the air or the floorboards anymore. It was something alive, breathing, watching. He reached the top step and grabbed the doorknob, locked. No, not just locked, melted shut. The knob felt like rubber in his hand, soft, warm, organic. Suddenly, the light bulb overhead burst with a sharp pop. Shards fell, slicing his shoulder. He screamed and backed into the corner, only to realize he wasn't alone. A dim shape moved just outside his peripheral vision, circling him. Low growls, like bone-scraping metal, filled the room. Then a click. The unmistakable sound of a camera. Flash. Another photo dropped at his feet. This time, Ethan was in the fetal position, but the thing was crouched right next to him, smiling. Its jagged teeth looked wet, its face closer than ever. Another whisper tickled his ear. "We remember you." The pictures now covered the basement floor, some old, some new. All of him. Sleeping, eating, crying, in school, in the shower, from places he never noticed a camera. Ethan's voice cracked as he asked, trembling, "What are you?" A cold breath answered, "The part you left behind." Ethan's knees buckled. He collapsed to the cold, photo-covered floor. The whisper echoed in his skull. "The part you left behind." He blinked, confused. Left behind? Suddenly, memories he never remembered having began to flash before his eyes. A small cabin in the woods, a mirror that didn't reflect him, a shadow that used to walk beside him, but no longer. His head throbbed. Something was clawing at his mind, ripping memories apart and rebuilding them wrong. Then, footsteps. Not on the stairs, not behind a wall, inside his head, pacing. And then, a hand, black, thin, with too many joints, reached up from beneath the photos as if the floor was water. It gripped his ankle. Ethan kicked and screamed, but more hands followed. Each hand looked slightly familiar. One wore his old broken watch, one had the scar from a childhood bike accident, another had his own birthmark. They weren't just hands, they were versions of himself, twisted, forgotten, abandoned. The whispers grew louder now, blending into moans. "You left us here. You forgot what you did, but we never forgot you." Suddenly, the lights in the basement flickered back on, but not electric lights. These were camera flashes going off all around him, rapid, blinding. Each flash showed the same thing from a different angle. Ethan, terrified, trapped, surrounded by himself, and behind them all in the darkness, something far worse was moving toward him. Something ancient, something that had been watching since before the first photo was ever taken. And now, it was coming back for him. Ethan closed his eyes. He had nowhere left to run. Dozens of versions of himself stood around him, watching, breathing in sync, existing in a way they shouldn't. But the worst thing wasn't what he saw. It was what he remembered. Something had followed him long before the mirror, before the basement, before tonight. A shadow with no face, no form, but full of intent. And then it whispered, a sound that wasn't a voice, but still spoke straight into his soul. "Now you remember." Then, nothing. Silence. Darkness. The next morning, the basement door was found wide open, but Ethan was gone. Only a single Polaroid lay on the floor, a blurry picture of a boy, holding a flashlight, smiling strangely, and in the bottom right corner, written in shaky handwriting, "It followed me."